Printing will return to the Treasury. All student loan debt will be forgiven.
Well, they have to end the Fed then when that happens, because you just mentioned Treasury. So if the Treasury is going to print our own money again, then we need to get rid of the Fed. Absolutely. No more Fed will be left.
Musk talked about that just 2 days ago. So a lot of people are going to fall for it because like everyone's going to be like, yeah, and the Fed and the IRS or whatever, but they don't realize the system behind it's going to be controlled. Welcome, Eagles, to another edition of Tradcat Night, special guest exclusive podcast. And listen, we're keeping the shows moving along with one of my favorite programs to do every month with David Dubine of Adapt 2030. And we got to get into all the latest earth changes. We got to get David's perspectives on the economy. Are there still coming food riots and rationing? What's happening with the sun? Oh, we got so much to talk about here. And what are we in for this winter? I saw one of your programs today, Unprecedented Winter Beginning. We got all kinds of anomalies happening worldwide. Welcome back to the show, David.
Appreciate you having me back. So much changes every single month. You know, it is a whirlwind, a vortex. Some might say it's cycles, but the cycles are really long. But these mini tornadoes of change inside that more wide scope of a cycle. Just more floods. You know, you'd think Spain had enough after getting a year worth of rain in Valencia, just absolutely wrecked and drowned. But now there's been 3 other locations from Barcelona up to southern Madrid in that triangulated area between Madrid, Barcelona, and Valencia there. Coastal. They've been getting a year's worth of rain also. I can't believe that a country has 3 years worth of a rain storms in just like 2 weeks. Like something seems very odd for me on that account. Now, again, don't get me started on can they control the weather from start to finish, but something strange going on there.
What will that translate into? I mean, obviously, continue to pray for the poor Spanish people, and I don't know what the death total is there, but how does that translate to us over here in America? Any particular products we might be short on, or I thought I saw a video on your platform where vegetable prices might go up or something. How does that translate to us?
Not so much directly into America because we still have California that's a grow region that can supply, and Mexico. The Almeria greenhouses were absolutely ripped to shreds. They had something like 14,000 acres of the prime growing greenhouse space. This is the world's largest greenhouse area by acreage in the world. And at the same time that year worth of rain storm hit Valencia, the preceding tail that was whipping around ended up dropping 8 inches of hail. So when you look at the pictures of the before and after the greenhouses, they're expecting extreme rises in vegetable prices for the UK because 30% of UK veg comes just from that one area. So if that one area is pretty much offline, I was trying to talk to a guy that is a manager in one of the facilities down there. I'm still waiting to get the interview, so everybody out there, please hold to see what their rebuild costs are going to be. And they're managing something like 200 acres of greenhouse. So that's why I wanted to get somebody on the larger scale side of things, because theirs was ripped to shreds. So what's their lead time to get materials? Do they have enough? Can they get loans from the banks against property to cover that? Because a lot of people don't have cash to drop millions on new materials. So just them being a 200-acre facility, all their nets were destroyed. A lot of the bracing, the plastic piping that was over got destroyed. One entire area, like well more than 10 acres on the edge of on the edge of the facility, got blasted or ripped down, and it's like a sideline wind event where even their metal aluminum framing was totally flattened in that whole section, like 10 acres. The dollar's being eviscerated as the U.S. is creating $100,000 of debt per second. BRICS nations introduce a new global currency called the unit. The unit would be pegged at 40% to gold and 60% to a basket of BRICS currencies, a statement token using the gold held within their borders. What do you think is going to happen with metals? Call the proud Americans of the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. And Patriot Gold Group has the No Fee for Life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. And you may qualify for the No Fee for Life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020 for your free investor guide today. And now on with the video. So you start to look at this and say, all right, well, they're consolidating all these growers in to have a streamline for materials in, fertilizer in, and then foodstuffs out to a wholesaler on a co-op model comprising 200 acres. So how long is it going to take to repair that alone? So this is the interview I want to have because it's all about the materials. That's just 200 acres. You're talking about almost 15,000 acres. So to get a gauge on what the lead time is, what the materials cost are, then you can just do simple math and see how long is this going to come back, because it's now affecting prices for veg in Europe coming. And so here's the one thing that was the biggest kicker. We were in the rollover season between harvest time where a lot of people were pulling out whatever was left in their gardens. And the home gardener was still able to get some left produce that was coming out from, let's say, either the autumn garden or the summer garden that was producing all the way until now. Okay, we're at that rollover point where it's going to get so cold in Europe real quick here when winter starts that nobody's growing anything outside, nothing. And then they become very, very reliant on all the vegetable production coming out of Almeria. The turnover is a good 6 weeks before you can start getting some easy plants out of there. From seed out to the harvest, 6 to 8 weeks. So can they repair the greenhouses in 6 to 8 weeks for the entire area to then put them back in production to get the veg coming back out? Because if it's a no, then everybody's veg prices across Europe will rise 70 to 120%, like instantly if they can't get it up. This is a pivotal. If they can't get put up back up before the end of November here and the first week of December, everybody's food costs across Europe are going to skyrocket.
I don't know, man. We got all kinds of situations brewing here. I know we're going to keep off air here today, but we'll see how they all kind of pan out. Oh, and I wanted to make mention of what I've been working on. I've been working on sort of an off-grid, like laundry, and so I needed to get some 55-gallon buckets of water put into 5-gallon buckets of water so that I could bring it down to the area where I'm doing laundry and kind of hook up my washer dryer to the EcoFlow, and it all worked out. So I now will have the capability of being able to do laundry the not old-fashioned way, provided there's no EMP and they don't shut down the electricity like that. But I got my 55-gallon drum collection of water kind of situated, so I got that.
What's put you on this tear? You seem to suddenly have this like fire that's burning at your feet for you to get things done. Like, what's going on? You're suddenly like in 100% motion action phase. Like, what triggered that for you?
I think people are falling asleep on the whole Trump's in there now, nothing's going to happen. And in my humble opinion, chaos is coming. And it could be happening, by the way, over the next few weeks. That Dark Winter video game suggested that will go down on Black Friday, December the 1st. You got the Dark Winter script. And then in addition to that, I think the economic collapse is still dangerously close. But they're still going to collapse everything here, I think, in the first half, actually, in 2025.
Well, I'd agree with you there. I really believe that we are seriously in more danger now than ever. And this whole complacency thing and the economy was planned, it's got to go if we're going to bring in a new system of not so much central bank digital currency, but that will be one facet of it. You know, mBridge, which was the planned bank for international settlements with all the payment systems between like Saudi Arabia, China, United Arab Emirates. The BIS stepped away and let them go green on the project by themselves because they said that and Hong Kong as well, that their banks were mature enough and they'd already run sandbox and litmus tests, and this allowed mBridge to run free as its own autonomous payment system between 5 different nations right now. So the BIS signed off on it, stepped away from it, and said, all right, it's live. You handle it on your own. If you're running any problems, give us a call.
Well, a former guest of mine brought this to my attention. I guess a lot of other people in the alternative side of things who don't necessarily see the right as the good guys per se. What about Musk and his XPayments? Is there any indication that might be like the alternative platform or the system after the collapse? I know some people seem to think that. I got to do a little bit more research on it, so I can't speak too much to it. But you know how X, ties into PayPal, but apparently they want to make this like according to some, an all-encompassing sort of financial payment system for like everything. Basically, like your new bank after the banks go down. Have you looked into this with the XPayments for Musk or whatever?
Sure have, because with the Civilization Cycle podcast, we are on X, and please join us over there. And what we were thinking of is, how does this whole ecosystem work? Now, that way you described there, the monetary end of it is just one facet of it. Okay. So if you're looking at it a triangle, they want to capture everything and all movement into the social media platform. That's part one. They want to get everybody onto that platform. Like, where's the party happening on the planet? It's happening on X. But yeah, once you get there, though, if you were a creator, they want you to create, and then the money that you earn is wrapped into that same system, because your earnings will plug into the new monetary system from them directly. So if you are going to utilize the new, I don't even know the name of it, X currency, X coin, I'm not sure. There's no like real name given for it. You know, BRICS came out and said they had the unit that was going to be 40% gold, the other 60% native currencies, and then on the outside of that periphery were going to be commodities trades equal. And any overage or underage on that settlement of like a ship of iron ore for a ship of like wheat, if there was any difference in the price on that, then they would settle in gold-backed currency on that. But what I'm talking about is something different. In the X ecosystem, whatever that final term is for that monetary unit, let's just call it X coin, they want everybody to be in there. And then all, just like it is with, if you're going to be on social, you're going to have to be in there. And then your earnings will be paid in the X coin. So they're already getting the forward-leaning curve of thought on the planet plugged into that new monetary system inside the place where it's going to be. The party is in X with the new money, and you get paid in the new money as long as you create. And will it stay forever as open as it is? I don't know.
Okay, I got so many questions with this because I actually just wrote an article on the economic implosion, because you got a lot of big name people out there like Schiff saying stock market crash, economic crash, and everything next year.
Schiff, he's worse than anybody. He's the longest, like, it's going to happen now. It's going to happen now. He's been saying it for 20 years, but they still bring him on like MSNBC, dude.
like Salenta. I know he has been. I will say that. I'll hand you that point. Bo Polney and like those types. How's it going to be different from Bitcoin? Because, Bitcoin is like the powerhouse. Will it like accept Bitcoin, or this is just a completely different thing where you got to roll your Bitcoin into X, like X coin?
I don't think it's going to be that. I think Bitcoin is Bitcoin. This is going to be its own ecosystem that stays outside of everything else. There's nothing you can tie into it. Why would you? It's its own fundamental store of value. Like, you can't wrap anything into that. It's the inverse. Like, that's going to stand on its own as a new pillar. Now, once we get outside that, okay, you're coming into a new ecosystem that's going to be built out. Could other things wrap into X? Perhaps.
That's what I'm trying to get at, because there's a script out there which is called the Protocols of the Golden Dawn. It's very like esoteric.
The Golden Dawn. You mean Crowley's thing from back in the early turn of the 1900s? Order of the Golden Dawn.
Yeah, that's the club that I think Trump's a part of, and he's going to bring people right into the arms of the Antichrist. Like, I could do a whole 2-hour show on this, but I really wanted to stay on the economic side of it because I just covered this morning. And they talk about how there's going to be a jubilee where they're going to forgive everyone's debts, and then they're going to move people over after they crash the system. They literally say in the protocols they're purposely going to crash the system. The excuse that they're going to use, that unfortunately neocons will chew this up because they think Trump can do no wrong. We're going after the cabal. In order for us to really bring down the cabal, we just got to take down the economic system altogether. But what I didn't understand, I'm like, okay, how do we go from where we're at now into a one-lane globalist CBDC program? Because I think you and I have agreed over the time, like, this is going to be like a process. Now, on that protocol, they made mention of, I have to get the exact verbiage here, but a new gold-backed system here. Printing will return to the Treasury. All student loan debt will be forgiven. Where the heck is it?
Well, they have to end the Fed then when that happens, because you just mentioned Treasury. So if the Treasury is going to print our own money again, then we need to get rid of the Fed. Absolutely. No more Fed will be left.
Musk talked about that just 2 days ago. So a lot of people are going to fall for it because, like, everyone's going to be like, yeah, and the Fed and the IRS or whatever, but they don't realize the system behind it's going to be controlled. Now, here, this is how they say the whole thing is going to go down. They say the final strike on the cabal's finances will crash the financial markets. The financial contagion will start with Deutsche Bank and the derivatives market, possibly triggered too by the Chinese Petro launch, but will quickly spread to every market. Safeguards will be put into place. And I'm trying to find the part where they talked about the new global-backed money here now. And it wasn't CBDC. In the U.S. Federal Reserve, declared unconstitutional. Here it is. I found it. The money printing authority in the U.S. will then be returned to the rightful constitutional jurisdiction of the Treasury. The U.S. dollar will be reset as a legitimate gold-backed currency. That's what's on their script.
Eric, the only thing that would work again is you have to instill confidence back in the new system. Like nobody's going to accept just another fiat system. Once this one collapses and causes so much havoc, nobody on the planet will just dive right back into a fiat-only backed by military system. Everybody's going to demand that it's backed by gold, silver, platinum, palladium, maybe a quad metallic system or a tri-metallic system with gold, silver, and maybe platinum. But nobody will absolutely accept just basic fiat again. So why do you think all these banks are hoarding so much gold now? They're trying to get so much gold into the reserves because every country on the planet is going to have at least some to restart the global economy, all backed by gold again. Now, the thing is, once they do that, that gold's going to have to get revalued very much higher also. So the 2 or 3, 2,800 gold, 3,000 gold, that's going to be way too low. To revalue gold against the assets and these things that we have out there, you're looking at like 40,000 to 70,000 ounce gold if they're going to reset it.
Again, that's the part that I'm trying to figure out, just like you're trying to figure out too. And I don't have an answer at this point. It kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't make sense. Like, I understand, like, if you think Trump can do no wrong, how a lot of people would be, okay, yeah, trust the plan. Like, okay, where do we go? Let's pick it up from where they say with this U.S. dollar reset, gold-backed currency. In my humble opinion, it still has to get to a globalist CBDC thing. If my thesis is right, let's pretend like my thesis is right. With what they're saying the script is, which has already been playing out, and it seems like this is all going to happen based upon the headlines that we see. I'm trying to fill in the dots here.
Well, then where do our fiat-backed dollars go to then? Okay, you're going to issue a new dollar backed by gold. Where's the old fiat one going to fit into that? It's going to be 1,000 to 1 on the exchange rate, 100 to 1. I talked to Lynette Zhang, and you know Lynette too. And she said the most common reset numbers are 100 or 1,000 to 1 when the resets come. It's never a 10 to 1. That's too low. They do 10 to 1 after they do the second reset. But the first initial reset to rein in all that money that's causing the problem is generally, on average, 100 to 1 is the most common, and 1,000 to 1 is the second most common reset numbers through history.
I mean, I can kind of see all the moving parts kind of coming together. And then in addition to that, I thought I saw a piece here you did, big money moving to hard assets with Bob over there. What did he have to say?
Well, that's the whole thing, is the real money is moving out of the equities, or what you consider like stocks. They're either moving into bonds of new BRICS nations, which they're giving me something that's ridiculous. Like, he was going through a few of the interest rates with me. Some of these BRICS nations are offering between like 18% interest per year. And I was thinking, well, the devaluation of that too. But, if you can find that sweet spot of a nation that's getting a lot of gold back with it, that's its currency is more stabilizing, and it isn't running away at 18% per year, that it's kind of held that same stabilized 18 to 20% for the last 3 years, probably your next year it's going to stabilize and it's not going to run away. So his whole thing was, trying to target in on a couple of these BRICS nations that have a steady economy where the interest rate's really, really, really high. And it's meant not to run away on purpose, as a lot of this big money is getting 18% versus 0.02% or whatever if they left it in the U.S. And commodities plays like a huge amount of money on the investor side, like seriously large family offices, sovereign nations, etc. They're moving into things like the mines themselves that are the miners of the gold, silver, and the different rare earths. They're not buying the actual rare earth on like the CME or some kind of commodities exchange like the London Metals Warehouse to put on contract. They're actually going to the source to own the production. And that's with the food, with the water, and with the metals. And I was thinking with the water too, yeah, they're getting involved with a huge amount of water rights too. So anytime water rights come for sale, there's hundreds of billions of dollars set aside just to buy water rights right now. So there's a movement away from the intrinsics or the service industries that people are getting rich on here on Wall Street, on the stocks. Whatever happened in the front money is moving right now into hard commodities and ownership of the means of getting that to a market, like from the start, the hole in the ground, and that's where that big money is moving to. And it's already started to move. So at the end, it's going to create a vacuum of all the money following it, and the rest of it, boom, will just implode. But you say it seems like it's a fast track. Because, yeah, take away the money. There can't be any more bribes. We need to take down the old system. Oh, I got to stop it. There won't be any money for them to operate. Dude, they probably got gold. Like this whole thing about stopping dollars for bribery. Are you kidding me? You know how much money's been bought in gold that could still operate for years in advance, paying people gold and silver? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you can't believe that script. So maybe the next stage, is it safe to say the next stage before just all-out CBDC is XPayments? Let's just call it XPayments. XPayments versus BRICS, and then somehow through that next war or situation or scenario, we all end up into CBDC somehow? Where do we go from there? Again, like I'm saying, I've been brainstorming like all morning how they're going to try to pull us off because I like to stay ahead of the game like that. I don't know. I can see that happening. I know they got to get people as impoverished as possible. So you mentioned the ratio there. So I guess people will take whatever they can get in that new system to come.
The whole CBDC thing has a bad name. It's been run through the mud already. So they're going to have to, they're going to have to change the name into like the digital dollar or something. And then keep aware too, you know, they're talking about stopping the IRS, and that's fine. And they're talking about taking money back to the Treasury, and that's fine. There won't be a Fed. So the amount of inflation should be regulated for a minute. But keep in mind, every possible sale that happens can be taxed at the point of sale on a digital currency. Well, at least in Tennessee, we don't have a state tax, so it's 10% tax on like things that you buy in a store, 9.75, sometimes 6 something for food. But just let's say generally 10%. That'll be added in. Maybe it'll 12, 15% on everything you buy, and the transaction will be instantly taken out. So nothing's for free. Don't think we're going to this magical system where you're not going to have any more inflation or erosion or taxes. It's going to be done in a way that every single micro penny can be, you know, if you can digitize a penny and take it to like 8 decimal points deep or 12 decimal points or 16 decimal points out, then they're really not going to miss a beat where every single transaction at that point can be taxed at the point of sale. So you're not going to get away from anything. You're probably going to get taxed more during this new system. Again, bait and switch. That's just me, though.
So this was sent over by a third party, but it was analysis from someone else that she had gotten and just sent it to me. And I said I have to, investigate a little bit more. But it's actually called the Everything app. And it looks like it's actually an article, too. Why Elon Musk wants X to be a WeChat for the West. It says the WEF criminals are doing exactly what they have planned to trick us into their CBDC and their X Everything app. XPayments will change the game. Going live this year, only 13 states left as of September. California went live in September. The Musk-Trump combo is something to keep an eye on. At least 2024 has turned out to be an insane year. Musk says if it's done right, X will become half of the global financial system, the largest financial institution. Will it be BRICS versus X in the digital days to come, as I just suggested? Trump Musk team are planning something huge. See, the goal is to have micro economies, no more need for a bank account, bank card or debit card. Elon and Trump want everything to go through this Everything app, which is XPayments. And this person goes on to say, think about it. Elon is the single greatest entrepreneur in our lifetime. Everything he touches turns to gold, so to speak. And he says Elon's about to drop the next logical step for money. Elon wants X to be the center of your financial world. Musk told X employees during all hands call that people will be surprised at just how powerful the system will be. When I say payments, I actually mean someone's entire financial life, Musk said. So that's pretty much it. It says, talking about you won't need a bank account, you won't need a credit card or debit card anymore. You just go right through this Everything app. People are going to buy into it when it looks like it could very well tie into the whole social credit, scheme thing. So I don't know. What did you take of her analysis? Did anything kind of strike you there?
All right. So that's great for the American genre of people. But what happens when you want to travel? Like I travel every year. So what happens if I'm in the X ecosystem and then I decide I want to go over to Taiwan, I want to go over to Japan, I want to go to Croatia again, or I want to go to Republic of Georgia or Turkey. is this X system going to be as valid there? So if everything's wrapped up in my entire, economic ecosystem is wrapped into this thing, then I already see a problem. What happens if you can't use this or utilize it overseas? Because you're looking at Europe on how heavy-handed they are with censorship and trying to arrest Musk and, fine the company trillions of dollars for with this and that and the other. I mean, more than the company's worth by exponential amounts just to completely bankrupt it out. So you think that ecosystem is going to be parable with, traveling in Europe if they're at the point now where they want to put out arrest warrants for the guy for not controlling speech in Europe and then, fining the company and shutting down offices and thing, and that's going to be parable in Brazil? I don't think so. So you're already running into a huge stumbling block. It's great if you're in America. I get it. That'll probably be the cherry on the top for ease to walk around our nation. But as soon as you leave our nation, if your entire entity is wrapped into that one ecosystem, then you're SOL trying to work it in another part of the world. And I'll come back to a couple of videos I did a few months back, and I'm trying to get with Martin Armstrong right now on the show to get him on my show. If the financing for farm financing fails in this economic collapse, what happens to the global food supply? Taking away money for this, that, or the other, you can bankrupt a system, that's great. Companies will go down, that's bad. People lose their jobs, that's even worse. But as this financial contagion were to happen, the thing that nobody wants to talk about is where's the money to grow our food for next season going to come in? Because they would be hobbled anyway because of 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1 exchange rate. So even if they were holding cash and they'd planned to use that, let's say they had $1 million and they're like, okay, for emergencies, we keep $1 million in cash. Well, suddenly that $1 million in cash just either became $1,000 on 1,000 to 1 reset, or if it was 100 and it got reset 100 to 1, you got $10,000. Okay, well, what's that going to buy in the new world? And if these guys don't have credit, and normally operating budget of $1 million on some of these larger farms with 100,000 acres, that's way too low. Because a lot of machines will grind up. I was at a John Deere dealership because our mower broke, and they're like, yeah, you got a registered farm. I do. So come on out, and it's like a $250 special where they'll take a look at your 0 point and tune it all up and do all that. But I was looking at one of the repair bills, and just the repair bill, it was a combine, a guy who had a John Deere combine, so we ended up talking for a minute. His bill for just to get it repaired, because he had some tines break on that, and at $44,000 on a repair bill. That was just for one piece of equipment on a smaller farm in Tennessee. So I'm looking at this going, they need multi-millions for operating costs for seed, fertilizers, machine repair parts. They need to pay the laborers. If they got land tax, they need to pay that. So they're getting a lot of loans to pay off a lot of debt and a lot of recurring costs that come in yearly or seasonally. Without that farm credit, nobody has that money. There's not enough money. The entire food system would collapse right now if there was no more credit for the farmers to get what they need ahead of, and then they pay once they get the crops in the silos, and then they get paid. Like there's usually a 90-day rotation on that, or even some of them I've seen as much as 120 days. 4 months to pay off once you borrow that money. So if that gets thrown into the wind somehow, we will not be able to grow food the following season. That's the scariest thing. The economic collapse is terrifying in itself. Joblessness, crime spike, supply chain breaks down where nothing or very little is coming into the supermarkets or drugstores or whatever you like to call that. But then, take it that step further into, then there's no seeds going in the field. There's no fuel for them to run the tractors to put the seeds in the field. Where does that leave us the following year then, when there's been very little grown across the planet, i.e. except other countries like Russia, China, that would grow their own, or India also, and Iran inside there. They would self-fund that. That would be their most important project, was to get the food grown. Like they would allocate gold-based currencies to get those farmers continuing to produce food. But us, we're in a very special situation. We're completely fiat. And if it does collapse, it's going to take a minute to revamp the system. Now, if you miss a whole entire growing season, imagine the food price cost at the end of that. Oh, well, it was the financial collapse. That's why you have to go on rationing. And plus, you add in the digital rationing cards, what I talked about last year. they didn't manifest last year like I thought they might get into. They've been kicking the tires on it, but it hasn't actually rolled out to where you actually need one of these things in front of you. But maybe I was a little zealous on my call. Maybe it'll happen this year, not last year. I don't know, but the farm financing is the elephant in the room nobody's talking about. And think, Eric, how that could be used as the actual main thumb screw or pinch point to drive and collapse everything else. If you can stop the food supply even for half of a year, you could absolutely wreck the planet and control it like it's never been controlled before, because that lack of food being produced will cause all those people who are hungry to do anything you ask without question, and they will do it because their families are hungry.
They have to approach it from a multifaceted standpoint, obviously internally first, domestically, but then abroad. Do keep in mind, January 15th, we're going to be getting back into the port strike talk again. And then they just shut down all the ports. And again, for these particular port strikes, I know it wasn't necessarily mostly food, but there were definitely some items, I think, like citrus items and some other stuff. But just in general, if you're not just getting general supplies, I mean, push food aside for a second, we would still be in trouble. So I don't know. Those types of headlines, I think, will be pretty prevalent in 2025. You got to really peel back the onion.